Aloha, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Proficiency exam keeps moving on. We're running to get there. Problem number 11. The value of 3 square root of 180 is between which two integers? 12 and 15, 22 and 25, 39 and 42, and so on. How can we find that? Well, obviously we know what that number 3 stands for, right? That's 3. But we need to discuss and see what is the square root of 180 and between what numbers that square root of 180 is. And there are many ways in which you can approach this problem. What I will recommend to every one of you is, before you're completing this class and before the very first chance to take your proficiency exam, why don't you go ahead and memorize? And I know now everybody will say, yeah, right, I mean, what the heck, I don't have to memorize, I'm smart. Well, smart people memorize things sometimes because that will make your life easier. So what I'm asking you to memorize is to memorize all the square or the perfect squares of all your numbers from 1 to 20, okay? So from 1 to 20, if I will ask you, hey, what is 12 square? And one of you will say, hey, 12 square, that's 144. I memorized that in my 6th grade. Hey, what is 14 squared? Well, 14 squared is 196. All right. Oh, yeah. So then tell me, what is 13 squared? 13 squared, I knew it in my 2nd grade. 13 squared is 169. What is 20 squared then, Mr. Smarty Pants? Oh, 20 squared, I learned in my 1st grade, that's 400, right? And you can keep going on. You can play like this if you want. Hey, that's the way you learn. But let's look at my number here. I have what number? I have 180. Well, let's go back to the 4 examples I gave you, because it may have looked like I did them randomly, but I did it on a purpose, with a goal, to find 2 numbers that are either greater or less, I mean, one greater, one less than 180, and perfect squares. And what numbers do you guys see I found here? One of them is 169, and the other one is what? 196, right? Now, the problem says square root of 180, right? So I'm looking for what is the square root of 180, and I will compare it to the square root of 169, and I will compare it to the square root of 196, because if I have these 3 numbers where I know that 180 is greater than 169 and 180 is lesser than 196, well, when I'm taking the square root of all these 3 numbers, the relation will still be the same. And I'm looking for, the principal square root, the positive one, right? Because we know that 169, besides being the 13 squared, is also negative 13 squared, right? It's still 169, because what? Every number squared, and keep this in mind, you should have a big tattoo on your hand that says every number squared will be positive, regardless if that number is negative or positive. Or you can put it on your back, because it's more to write than just that, right? I mean, don't do that. I'm just kidding here. But whichever way will make you remember or memorize things, well, go for it, as long as you're not hurting somebody or yourself, right? Good. Moving back here, I have what? What is square root of 169? Well, I just told you guys, right? You already memorized it in your 5th grade. That would be 13. Well, inequality sign stays less than what? What is the square root of 180? Well, I don't know, and I don't want to find out. I'm just, I will leave it like that. Then you bring down the other inequality sign, which is what? Less than, and square root of 196, we talked about it, is what? 14. Now, I definitely know that my number, square root of 180, is between 13 and 14, right? But let's get back to the question. The question doesn't ask you, is not asking you where is the square root of 180 situated, in what interval here, but it's asking about 3 times square root of that. Well, you know what? How about multiplying everything by 3? So I'm going to multiply my 13 by 3, which gives you what? 39. Because you're multiplying by a positive number, your inequality sign does not change. Then I have what? 3 times square root of 180. 3 square root 180. Then the other inequality sign, that doesn't change. And then I have 3 times 14. What is 3 times 14, right? Well, 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1, 4. And I just figured out that 3 times square root 180 is between 39 and 42. Well, that tells me that C is the best answer. That tells me how smart I am. Well, I don't think so. It's not going to tell you how smart you are, but definitely you are smart because you were able to solve this problem and you were able to pass the proficiency exam, okay? That's what it matters to us. And whatever people will say, smart or not, don't worry about. Keep going, keep working, and be smart in your work. All right? Thank you, guys. See you next time.